Welcome to the Metal Verbalizers podcast. There are a lot of hardworking musicians and great music in underground metal. We want to support this, so we started this podcast. We also want to share the great underground music with you listening. If you enjoy this podcast, your support is very important, because the more people find us, the more we can support the bands that we verbalize. And this episode, I will introduce a band by talking about the band's sound, influences, lyrics, name, future plans, and more. We are contacting the bands and asking them some questions. This episode is based on the band's answers. I'm Johan Verbalizer, and this episode will be dedicated to the band Significance. Significance is a thrash metal band from Germany and was started in 2022. However, I believe that you could say that the band's origin began the year before, in 2021 already. Back in 2021, the drummer of Significance, Martin, met Aaron, who is now the singer and guitarist of Significance. They met each other in school, so at the time Martin was 16 years old and Aaron was 14 years old. Apparently they had some type of rock club in their school. As I understand it, one of the teachers was basically getting students together to make a type of school band. That's when Martin and Aaron met each other for the first time. Eventually they started playing more together and played covers by bands like Metallica and Megadeth. In 2022, Martin got them a new practice room, and after a while they were joined by another guitarist and a bass player. So I guess this is the moment that at least I would personally consider kind of like the official start of Significance as a band. The guitarist and bass player, however, left the band and was replaced in 2023 by Kian Bar and Johan Pastor, who are still members of Significance. Currently, during the recording of this episode, the Significance discography is the single Black Metal from 2022, the single Chainsaw Gutsfuck from 2022, which, if you know about those bands, you probably, I assume that Black Metal is a kind of like a cover of the song Black Metal by Venom, and Chainsaw Gutsfuck is pretty much guaranteed a cover of the Mayhem song. But anyway, they also released a demo that is simply titled, I think it is a self-title, because some places it's called basically like rehearsal demo. But this one was released in 2023. The band has also announced a debut album. However, I'm not sure when this will be released, so definitely keep your eyes open for that. The main influences of Significance include a pretty great mix of both old school and modern bands, such as Metallica, Slayer, and Sodom, etc., being examples of old school bands, and Pest Control, Havoc, and Municipal Waste are some modern examples of influences. One of the main ideas here is basically that Significance wants to have an old school feel, as kind of like a nod and homage to that, I believe, but also do something interesting that feels a little fresh, which I guess is where the new wave influences come in. This is a very important thing, I believe, when kind of like defining Significance and the band's sound. The purpose isn't to bring back the 80s metal or being the type of you know, kind of like a revival band. What they do want is to use old school 80s metal as a big influence, but also to create their own interpretation of it in a modern context, basically. That's kind of how I interpret the band's kind of mindset. Because Significance is a relatively new band, they haven't released that much music yet. Currently they have one demo out and have announced an upcoming album. Also, according to, for example, Metal Archives, Significance have done covers of the Venom song Black Metal and the Mayhem song Chainsaw Gutsfuck that I mentioned earlier, but I haven't been able to find those covers, which means that I can't really comment on them and give you a good idea on the sound of those covers, basically. However, if you really like thrash metal with a lot of punk in a similar style as early Venom, for example, I think you will really like the first demo of Significance. I would consider Significance a thrash metal band, but I think they're leaning towards a little bit of that kind of like black thrash a little bit at times, and like I believe that what I'm kind of thinking about here is mainly like the kind of sound of the demo reminds me a lot of the kind of first wave black metal stuff. So if you're a fan of that stuff and you're a fan of like more like thrash metal, like total thrash stuff, I think that Significance is a band that you will enjoy quite a lot. So definitely check them out. Significance has not decided to dedicate their lyrics to only one theme and subject or anything like that. They want to write about what they feel inspired by and want to in the moment. They do not want to limit themselves to only one thing, basically. The band's lyrics, however, tend to revolve around subjects such as politics, social structures, which, if you have listened to other episodes we made about thrash metal bands, these are very common subjects for thrash metal bands to have. Not only new bands or underground bands either, like thrash metal bands in general. The lyrics of Significance also deal with subjects like serial killers and thrash. And by thrash in this context, I mean things like partying and moshing. Like that kind of pizza thrash stuff, I guess. Personally, I think that Significance is a very original name for a thrash metal band to have. I personally really like it, which made it even more interesting to me to kind of like hear the origin of their name. It's a pretty interesting anecdote, I think. When the members sat down back in 2021 and tried to figure out what to call the band, they came up with kind of humoristic names like Commercial Talica, etc. But one day, I believe it was Martin, if I get things right here, who was watching a YouTube video by the YouTuber called Farvan. I'm personally a big fan of Farvan, by the way. Great YouTube channel with a lot of great content. If you haven't watched any of his videos, I would strongly recommend it. However, in the video that Martin watched, Farvan said, quote, "the insignificance of life," end of quote. I don't know what video or in what context he said that, but for whatever reason, this specific sentence kind of stood out for Martin. He started thinking about it and eventually realized that Significance could be a cool band name. So the next time he spoke to Aaron, he asked him, like, quote, "Yo, wanna take Significance as a name?" End of quote. He liked the idea, and after that, the band was officially named Significance. When it comes to the future of Significance, the band is focusing a lot on new music. They've recorded their first EP and are also currently working on a full-length album. However, it will take at least 1 to 2 years before it is released. So, my personal guess is maybe late 2025 or early 2026, probably. Again, that is just pure speculation though, from my part. But regardless, I would definitely recommend that you keep your eyes open for it, because I have a really great feeling about this one, and I think it's based on the current music that Significance has released already. I have a really great feeling about this one, and I'm very excited about it. So definitely keep both your eyes and ears open for it. Alongside all this, Significance is also playing live shows, of course. It seems to me that Significance is pretty much only playing in Berlin right now. but the band is working on a way to be able to play in other places as well. So if you have the opportunity to see Significance live, I would definitely do it. I've seen some videos from Significance shows, and it looks and sounds like a great time. So I don't think that's something that you want to miss if you have the opportunity to attend one of those shows. These are my thoughts and comments about the band, but now I would like to hear your thoughts. What do you think about Significance? Do you have a favorite song by this band? If so, which one? We have now reached the end of this episode. It means a lot to me that you've been listening all the way to the end. I really appreciate that. If you want to support us, great ways of doing so are basically subscribing on YouTube, as well as following on Spotify, Facebook and Instagram. While you're on Spotify, feel free to also rate the podcast, as well as generally liking, commenting and sharing. All of this can be done very quickly, very easily and completely free, but it would really help the podcast, as well as the bands we verbalize. We would be very thankful. We will be back to verbalize again next week.